We're talking Chicago Bears football on the Ourlads Football Network. Thanks for tuning in. Mark Carman joining us, radio host from CHGO Sports. And of course, you know that's in Chicago. How's it going, Mark? Good to have you on again.
Great to be back. Nothing going on with the Bears these days. It's completely quiet over here.
Yeah, that's why we wanted you on, because it's so quiet. Absolutely. No question. All right. So let's get right to it. Okay. So first of all, the firing of the coordinator, the outside perspective, I'm thinking, wait a second, you invest a lot in this Caleb Williams kid. You have to know whoever's coaching him is the right guy. And apparently that wasn't the case. So what happened there?
So it's a $1 million question, right? The one thing you had to get right this year was the quarterback, and how are you supporting him? So Matt Eberflus had a huge hire after letting Luke Getsy go. Of course, went to the Raiders, and Luke Getsy lost his job this year.
Yeah.
But and I actually liked Luke, and I mean, who knows how that would have worked out with Caleb, but the Raider job was a tough one. But I digress. The bottom line is that, look, on the CHGO Bears podcast, we interviewed Jackson Smith-Njigba at the Super Bowl. That thing's made the rounds. And we asked him, hey, it was a real friendly question. What do you think about, because you were in Seattle, your rookie year was with Shane Waldron. What should Bears fans know? And he was like, is this live? And it just told you, basically, what we were able to glean from it, that him in front of the room, as far as a communicator and just from a leadership of the offense standpoint, it's not his game. He's not built for it. And I think that, look, he spent a lot of time with Pete Carroll to come over to Chicago. All right, man, here you go. Rookie quarterback, lead the way. He wasn't ready for it. And it's a disaster to have to move on after 9 games. But Thomas Brown, he's got that Sean McVay tree going on. He's been, he called plays offensive coordinator for Carolina last year, so he's got some experience. A lot of people think he's a head coaching candidate. He did a great job last week, so it's only 1 week, and it's still a nightmare the way it went down. But the Bears are in a lot better place, it seems, right now than they were 2 weeks ago when Shane Waldron was at the helm.
All right. Well, that's important to note. Then, if you said that Brown, you're saying that he's maybe a future head coaching candidate. Now, is that basically because he coached under McVay?
Yeah, and I mean, you listen to guys talk about him, Greg, and he's got that leadership quality. There's presence to him. Talking to Bears players, the second he got in the room on Wednesday and laid out the game plan for the week, it made sense. The team was galvanized around him. They played better. I mean, it wasn't elite. They only scored 19 points. Of course, they missed a field goal, so you're talking about 22. You're talking about a team that had put up 3 the week prior against the Patriots and 9 the week prior to that against Arizona. So it was a massive improvement. And forget about how many points they scored. The quarterback actually started looking like the quarterback that you drafted number 1 overall. So it was a hell of a start. We'll see, once, Minnesota this week, excellent defense. They stopped the run 74 yards a game. Will they be able to, be productive against the Vikings team now that this is on tape? We'll see. But it's, if he does, then you're like, oh, well, this guy really knows what he's doing. But 1 game in, pretty damn solid.
Okay. So tell us, coaching aside, give me your thoughts on what kind of a season Caleb has had so far.
Up, down, and around, right? You had a 4-touchdown game against Jacksonville where he honestly could have had 6. He missed DJ Moore. And that was his 1 interception on the day. He was wide open. And then, the other side of the coin, sacked 9 times, holding on to it too long. He is supremely talented. There's no doubt about that. But as far as just being an on-schedule quarterback, he's not quite there yet. Better on, quick hitting plays. He could execute those at a pretty decent level. But going down the field right now, the timing hasn't been there. So no doubt the talent's there. The what's been interesting is that his work ethic has been under the microscope.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I kind of find that hard to believe just because there was so much positivity coming from all corners, leading up to the draft. But I do think there's, as far as NFL work ethic that you need to do to be successful, that I think he's still in that learning curve.
He spent a couple of years at USC, so you got to give him a break. So,
Yeah, well, there you go. Sure.
All right. So has your mind changed at all since the beginning of the season on Caleb? I don't know exactly what your final evaluation or, what you thought about him, but has it changed at all?
Not really. I still think that everything's in front of him. I wouldn't take any chips off the table.
Okay.
I don't think he's necessarily a natural leader, if you will, but I also think he gets it at the same time. So, the offensive coordinator gets fired. Caleb Williams stands up in front of the team and says, and owns his part in it. I'm sorry that, that I didn't play better, that our offensive coordinator lost his job. I think that went a long way in that locker room. So if you're asking me the question, have I changed at all and thinking that Caleb Williams is going to be a bona fide NFL quarterback? No, I haven't.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the defense and the head coach because, again, when we spoke, as everybody knows, the Bears were kind of a hot, kind of up-and-coming pick in this offseason, the way they ended, with Caleb Williams being drafted. So there was a lot of optimism about where the Bears were headed. They get off to a great start. All of a sudden, here it is. This is what we've been talking about. And then out of nowhere, this little losing run started. How surprised are you that took place after all the optimism and the good start? And how's Eberflus being looked at right now, especially with the fan base?
So if you told me at 4-2 coming out of Jacksonville, they were gonna score 15 points against the Commanders, 9 against Arizona, and it was gonna go down to 3 against New England, there's no way I would have believed that. And I wasn't Johnny Optimism. Like I thought maybe they would. Like everyone's like, "Oh, they're definitely winning 2 of those 3." I'm like, they might win 1. I certainly didn't think they'd lose all 3, and I certainly didn't think they'd lose on a Hail Mary. And I also didn't think that they would blow the Packer game too by missing a field goal, have a field goal blocked at the end of the game.
Yeah, those are great points.
Yeah. So it's they've been unlucky and they've been bad at the same time, which is a horrendous combination. So, and you asked about Eberflus. Matt Eberflus is in trouble, but it ain't over yet. If they get the quarterback turned around before the end of the year and they start winning some games, they don't necessarily have to make the playoffs for him to keep his job.
Okay.
At least that's what it seems like. He's climbing uphill now. There's no doubt about it. But, and he said, listen, 5-17 in 1-score games, by far the worst in the NFL. That ain't great. That's hard to defend. So, but Ryan Poles, the Bears GM, has been very supportive of Matt Eberflus. So, how much is this weighing on him and how much is he changing his tune? We don't know yet. Poles has not talked. So, I don't think he's out yet, but I do think he's climbing uphill.
All right, let's take a look at the Ourlad's depth chart for the Bears, and I just want to zero in on the rookies. Actually, so there was a 5-man class, and besides Williams, you had the other 4. Talk a little bit about the class outside of Caleb Williams, including Odunze, who was the fellow first-round pick.
So Rome Odunze is a success story. There's no doubt about it. 479 yards at this point doesn't jump off the page, but what does jump off the page is that when you're down on the final drive to the Packers, and Caleb went to him on 3rd and 19 to make it manageable, and then hit him for 21 on 4th down which ended up putting the Bears in field goal range. The fact that he's making those level of plays already is a huge feather in the cap of Ryan Poles, and Caleb and him have a chemistry brewing that's super exciting for Bears fans. The Karan Amagaji pick looks horrible. This is a guy coming out of Yale who wasn't healthy, and maybe he'll get there. I still think there's definitely talent there, no doubt about that. But the Bears need help right now. And there's a bunch of offensive linemen that were taken after him who are playing, and literally the Bears could have used help at tackle, at guard, and or at center. The offensive line is Ryan Poles' biggest failure to this point. So that ain't great. The punter is fine and has helped them, but it's a luxury pick, and the Bears need more depth all over the field. So, no shot at Tory Taylor, but the Bears had Corliss Waitman in camp this year, second-year punter, who is the Steelers' punter, and had a net average of 55 yards last week. Like, it's just, maybe long-term, I just have a hard time with that pick. And again, nothing against Taylor, and he's a great story, but Tory Taylor didn't think he was coming to the Bears because they only had 4 picks. But Ryan Poles wanted Tory Taylor. And then, they traded back into the 5th round, giving up a 4th for Austin Booker, who's flashed. There's definitely talent there, but he's got to get bigger. So, but I do like that. That pick looks like a potential steal. We'll see.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Speaking of the defensive line, so how's Sweat? Because his numbers have not been eye-popping this season. A lot was expected after the way he came on late last year. So what kind of a season has he had in general, and is he healthy right now?
I don't think he's healthy, Greg. Listen, he was injured in training camp, and I don't think he's ever gotten fully back. So that's been a significant impact on the defense and a disappointment. They paid him a ton of money, traded a 2nd-round pick for him. He was great last year, but that was in the second half of the year when you were out of it. So you're making that deal so he can impact winning when it matters, and he's yet to do that, really.
Dexter, the 2nd-round pick from last year, seems to have made a nice little jump. Would that be the case?
Yes. He started out the year hot and impactful. He's cooled off a little bit lately. We've seen him in the backfield a little bit less. Andrew Billings, their 3-tech nose tackle, got hurt. I think that there's extra attention now on Dexter, and that ain't helping him.
Okay. And speaking of last year's 2nd-round pick, Tyreek Stevenson, he hasn't appeared to really take that next step. Would that also be the case?
Well, Tyreek just had a rough one, taunting the fans in Washington, and I'm assuming you saw the video where he was talking to the fans as the play was going on, the final Hail Mary play. Washington's running down the field, then he turns, then he runs to the end zone, then he tips the ball. He was supposed to be the deep guy guarding him, tips the ball in front, ends up in 85's hands. Commanders win the game, and he gets benched next week. And now he's rotating in and out with Terrell Smith, who had a pick last week on a ball that was thrown right to Terrell Smith. But Tyreek's got a ton of talent. I like Tyreek. Tyreek has had a up and down year. Let's put it like that.
Jenkins, one of the better talented linemen on the team, but the main deal with him is he's just always hurt. Seems to be hurt again. What's up with him?
He's been trying to stay on the field all year long, and finally the ankle got to a point where he could not play last week. Not sure if he's going to play this week, but it looks like he will. Tevin, when he's right, is phenomenal. He can, violent. Their best offensive lineman, but he has a major problem staying healthy, and he's been on the field more this year, fighting through, trying to show the Bears in a contract year that he can do it. But he has not been himself.
Before I let you go, give me a player on the team that maybe has surprised you in a good way.
Okay, surprised me in a good way. It's not good that no one jumps off the page at that. Well, that's what happens when you're 4-6. I mean, a lot of these guys we just knew, Greg. I suppose, like, overall, I'd probably say Roma Dunze. Not that I was super shocked by it, but the fact that he leads the Bears in receiving yards. I would not have said that would be the case.
Yeah.
10 games into the year. So that's been, now DJ and Keenan have regressed, but it's still that level that he's become the number one target for Caleb is a surprise.
By the way, I wanted to ask you about Herbert, who the Bears traded. And this is maybe something also important for any fantasy fans out there like myself, because I actually own Herbert on my dynasty team. It always didn't make sense to me, the talent he had, why he just couldn't get on the field. And now he's in Cincinnati and he's still not on the field. I don't know whether or not that's just, well, it's a coincidence. He's got to learn the system. I don't know what the case, but is there something that we don't know about Herbert as a reason why he doesn't get more of an opportunity?
Well, the biggest knock on him is that he is not a great, pass protector. So would Cincinnati be concerned of having him in the backfield and, picking up the blitz and getting Joe Burrow killed? That's possible. The Bears situation, they paid for DeAndre Swift, so that's your top back. And Roschon Johnson, who you drafted, Ryan Poles did, is your tough yardage guy. So Herbert just became the odd man out. But I like Khalil Herbert. Dude averaged 5.7 yards per carry, tops in the NFL 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't on a ton of carries, but it wasn't on 0 carries either. Him and David Montgomery were both getting action. So I like Khalil. He's definitely capable. He's a great guy in the locker room. Okay. I'm rooting for him.
And then finally, so let's talk about the game upcoming, this big division matchup. I say big because this is the make or break for the Bears at this point. It's tough because this season, the NFC is just loaded for those final playoff spots. Just to see the Rams and the Niners on the outside shows you how stacked it is. So it's probably this is it for the Bears if they're going to make a run at all. But talk about this matchup. The Vikings, of course, off to a fantastic start. Even though they've been struggling a little bit, they have been winning, but they haven't been winning pretty lately. And the road team has actually won 3 of the last 4, covered 4 straight, whatever that's worth. Bears are off to Detroit, short week, Thanksgiving. Sometimes you got to wonder about the look ahead, but considering where the Bears are at, I don't think they're worried about that. So talk a little bit about this matchup on Sunday.
Well, look, if you want to dream up the Bears getting back in it, they got to start winning games, and B, they're going to have to beat Minnesota twice, because the Vikings at 8-2, if you look at the teams in front of the Bears who are in the playoffs right now, the Commanders' schedule is not difficult. That's your 7 team. Green Bay is 6, and you already lost one to the Packers, so that ain't great. Minnesota, you can still get them twice, and they still got to play Detroit. They still got to play Green Bay. I looked at their schedule today. I don't know completely off the top of my head, but it ain't easy. So, but end of the day, what's interesting about this week is the Vikings are allowing 75 yards on the ground. Can the Bears get their ground game going? Take pressure off of Caleb, see what this looks like Thomas Brown in his second week. Jalen Johnson matched up with Justin Jefferson coming off his week where he lost Christian Watson or tripped on his feet and allowed the 60-yard bomb that put the Packers in a position to score the game-winning touchdown. That's a fun matchup. But really what's most interesting to me right now with the Bears is where will Caleb be at the end of the season? And, boiling that down to this week, how is he going to perform against a very good Minnesota Vikings defense? So big challenge for the Bears this week.
Do you have I know it's early in the week, but do you have a gut feeling about how they're going to respond on Sunday?
I mean, the Matt Eberflus formula is to play them tight and lose in the end, right? Maybe they'll get one this week, Greg. It's time. Get through. Keep hope alive. Last year they were 2-7, and they rallied to at least be in the hunt at the end of the year. So I am not giving up hope that they can at least get in the hunt. Although, and Bears fans, the season's over. So I'm just reminding them, you have to do the math on these things. And the math is the Bears can finish 11-6. Not likely, but it ain't over till it's over, damn it. So, it's a tough week to move forward, but they should have some confidence with the way the offense played last week to eventually, wash clean what happened last week and come back out. And you're at home. Maybe you can get something done.
Yeah, make it a little bit more enjoyable for Thanksgiving, watching your team play and having a little bit more invested in the game. So, yeah, I think this game matters. So I actually like the Bears this week. So whatever that counts for. So, Mark, appreciate it. Thanks. I'll put several links in the description to let everybody know where to find you, your content, and of course your programs and so forth. And we look forward to, hopefully, if we don't talk to you again later this season, we'll definitely look forward to talking to you before the draft.
Sounds good. Always appreciate you having me.
Thanks, Mark.